Hello, family. Hello, friends. How you all doing? I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I'm doing great. Just enjoying the last few days of our cool winter out here in Southern Africa. And it's a beautiful day, I must say. I just have this conversation that I've been meaning to have with you all. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I have spent time with you on my channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for waiting for this conversation. Now, it's a conversation that I've been wanting to have for a while, especially with the events of the last 6 to 8 weeks. How many of you are comfortable talking about death and dying? I think we find it a very morbid conversation, including myself. But it's something that we need to be comfortable talking about and be able to share our thoughts and prepare for the inevitable end. As long as you are a person who is born on this earth, you do have an exit day, which none of us know. So let's get into the conversation. I want us to talk about the thing that most of us cringe or avoid talking about altogether, and that is death. In the last 6 to 8 weeks, I have attended funerals, 5 of them, and it's been a range of ages from as young as 16 to as old as 87. And all these people, we put them to rest. And it's been something that has stimulated in my mind this conversation that I think we all need to have at one point or the other. These kinds of events of someone's passing brings to one's consciousness that when we make our debut, our entrance into the world, we will have an exit at some point. Now, that thought seems to invoke fear in most of us, even though we are consciously aware that it happens. No one can say that they do not know of a family, a friend, a close relation, somebody that they may know that has passed on. If you are somebody who is now a grown person, even as young as 7, you begin to understand there's something that is called death. But it is difficult, even at that early age or as late as in the 80s or 90s, we don't want to talk about it. It's a hard conversation to have. Now, the question that we might actually want to entertain is, what do we do in the meantime? We know we're here, our children are here, our fathers or mothers are here for a moment, and they will leave, and I will leave. But in that meantime, in the time in between, what is it that we're doing with that time? How are we spending it? How are we making sure that when we exit, we have left a mark? Not in a bad way, but in a good way that people can remember you for as long as you exist in their minds. I would still make that a topic for another day. What is it that we are doing with our lives, with that time in between? What is it that you're spending the time doing? Let's have that conversation for another day. But today we are talking about that finality, that end. So what I witnessed in these 5 funerals that I attended is that there's a lot of rituals that we go through when it comes to putting our loved one to their final resting place. And what I observed was there was a variation from what one was observing is very minimalistic, very simple, and to what one would consider posh, lots of flowers, lots of wreaths, lots of everything. Big crowds that came to the gathering as a send-off. And then on the other hand, we have this funeral where very few people are there. There are no flowers, there are no big wreaths, there are no fancy cars people with fancy cars that have come to the funeral. But the final thing with each of these people is that their graves were dug to the same level, 6 feet under. There was no bigger one because this person was a big person in the community. There was no small one because this person was considered to be a nothing in the community. They all were 6 feet under. They were all put down, lowered down in their final resting place. All had mounds of earth put on top of the coffin, the very pricey one and the lowest of the low on the coffin range. They were all the same. Let that sink in. So I observed so much variation in these funerals. From the parlor, the deceased was housed, the coffin or casket, the friends and relatives attending. With all those variations, each individual was put on the same level in the ground. Standard 6 feet. I know it is something that is really hard to talk about, and especially for us Africans. Let me not generalize, but for the people that come from the region I am from, talking about death, people will look at you weirdly. Talking about getting funeral policies. But because we have been so fragmented and separated, yes, it is becoming normal for people to have funeral policies. That will ease off the burden on your loved ones when you have prepared for that inevitable end. As Zimbabweans, or perhaps as Africans, it is normal for people gathered to put their hands together and contribute to cover burial expenses. But so many of our families are now fragmented. People are scattered all over the world. And because of that, it brings its own challenges. This is why it is really important to be able to have something in place so that if in the event you pass on, there is somewhere or something where people can start from. And without making it elaborate and putting all the bells and whistles, just being able to get a coffin, the standard coffin. If you want a bus, maybe there are service providers here in Zimbabwe where I am that will give you a package with all the extras that you can add onto the policy, but you can basically choose to pay for choose to have a policy that allows you to be buried, which covers all the basic necessities for you to be put to rest. And we can and we should be thinking about doing that as adults and preparing that kind of thing to make it easy for our loved ones. I don't even know how to really articulate this conversation because it's a tough one. And most of us fear talking about it. It's morbid. It sounds like you are almost setting yourself up to die. Or you are wishing that to happen on somebody. There's something about the conversation that is difficult. But after what I witnessed in the last couple of weeks, I think it's a necessary conversation to have. And folks, I'm just talking about you being prepared. The funny thing, which is also another conversation for another day. Here I am talking about a funeral and as reminding each of us to have a funeral policy. But on the other hand, we do not even take care of our health insurance policies. Most of us will do the funeral policy, but we don't do anything in terms of our health. To have healthcare policies that you utilize so that you have regular checkups, or at least if you're not well, you can use that to take care of your medical bills. That's, again, a conversation for another day. Let's continue with this conversation about death and funerals. Even though we are aware that this is an inevitable eventuality for us, let's try and live our best lives in the best way possible. Take care of your health, take care of your mind, take care of your family, live comfortably, live well with neighbors and friends. Just try and make that time. In the meantime, try and live a life that gives you little or no stress. That is the best thing you can do for yourself, because we all know one day one of us will be gone. And if you've wasted your time living a harsh life, putting yourself into difficult conditions, or living carelessly, making your life such that you are always full of stress and strain, then, some of those things are actually what will make you not live a good life or be sick. So my observations on these funerals, I saw families that had very little. And for that person to be buried, like I said, people had to give a hand. This one gives a little bit, this one gives another piece of help in the form of food, maybe offering transportation, and all that is required to have a funeral. And then I also observed some families that, when you're looking at how the funeral is being conducted, they were people, either the person was very organized, they had a policy that covered everything. A little bit of food, the groceries, because there are funerals that provide you with a little bit of money towards the groceries for the food, because we gather to mourn our late. That's how we do. We gather at the person's home or at their relative's home and mourn with the ones that they have lost. So people need to eat, they need water, they need something to sustain them. So I saw in some of those funerals, that they were well provided for, maybe through policies, maybe through the families working together to make it happen. I also saw caskets in some of those burials and very simple coffins. I saw people coming dressed to the T's and people dressed simply, somber, to meet the occasion. I'm not judging. I'm just saying I saw all these things happening. And one thing that I know for sure is the funeral is not for the person who has departed. All those rituals are for the living. So each to his own. I'm not judging. But here's what I would like to say about the end of life, the funerals, and whatever. I personally would rather have the flowers given to me in my living years. If you feel like I'm somebody who's worth a bunch of roses, a beautiful bouquet of flowers, a plant that I can put in my garden, come with it in my living years because I can see it. I can touch it. I can enjoy it. I'm able to say thank you for it. Having all these wreaths, all these big, beautiful flowers to put on my grave, and in most cases here in Zimbabwe, those flowers are crushed, yeah? Because I guess there's history of people coming to your grave after everybody has departed and helping themselves, maybe reselling that big wreath to somebody else. So they are destroyed. I would rather enjoy that bouquet of flowers in my living years. Let's go out and enjoy a meal together. Let's celebrate each other's achievements. Let's just do things, fun things together. Friends, family, colleagues. I know people have to eat at my funeral, but let's not wait to have that meal after I am departed. Let's break bread in my living years. Am I talking about something that is crazy, or some of you might identify and feel the same way? I'm not saying people should not dress up for the occasion, but man, some of the way we dress up for these funerals, come take me out for an evening, an afternoon, where we dress to the T's. Let me enjoy seeing you dressed up. Let me enjoy seeing you all made up, all glam. When you come to my funeral and you're all glammed, I'm not saying people should come looking scruffy and untidy, but I don't know whether I'm the one who is a little older now and maybe 19th century backward. I don't know. But what I've been seeing in this range of funerals, amusing and amazing. Yes, people should look decent, whether they are going to church, a funeral, a party, but the dressing should meet the occasion. Not overdressing for a funeral or glamorous and flashy for a funeral. I'm not sure. I'm not judging, but I've seen it. And I'm not sure whether I'm the only one who feels that way about the exaggerated way in which we are dressing up for these funerals. My point is, let me enjoy seeing you dressed up. Let's go out for a great meal. Let's go out to dance and enjoy ourselves. Let's laugh. Let's cry together. Let's do it in my living years. What happens after I'm gone is, I know funerals are for the living, but I want to have that good time with you in my presence, in my living years. So this observations that I've been having all these 6 to 8 weeks have made me think. I want to have a good time now. I want to enjoy flowers. I want to enjoy going out. I want to enjoy dressing up with you in this present time, when I can enjoy commenting about how good looking you are in that dress, about how that makeup suits your outfit, about how those shoes look good on you. Thank you for the bouquet of flowers. Thank you for the plant that I have in my garden and I enjoy tending that flower and see it grow and multiply. That is what I am thinking. That the finality of death is where I or you will not be able to enjoy all that fanfare, all those rituals that come with the funeral. If I would say for myself, if you want to buy the flowers, think about somebody that needs help. Send a kid to school. Buy a kid some school uniform. Do something for the older person who is alone, who needs maybe a good meal, instead of having those flowers on my grave. I won't see them. Let's talk about it, guys. I want to hear your thoughts and your views about what I'm saying. Comment and share your thoughts about it. Tell me how funerals are looked at where you come from. I'm just observing what is happening here in Zimbabwe, and I'm not sure what the other countries or regions do, but that is just my thought, and it's something that I wanted to put out there and share with you. So let me know, and I hope I'm not the only one who thinks this way, but let's talk about it. Let's normalize planning and having something set up, a funeral policy for that inevitable end, to make it easy for those of our loved ones we are leaving behind. That's all I wanted to talk about, folks. And I hope I'm going to be more frequent and regular on this channel so we can keep the conversations going. In the meantime, take care of you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.